Welcome to Dead Headspace. You can find us on Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Ghana, and all other major platforms, which includes Alexa. All you have to do is ask her to play Dead Headspace podcast. I am your host, Patrick R. McDonough, and today we do not have my co-host, Brennan LaFaro. This is an older episode that I recorded by myself back in March. We talk with Patrick R. Young. He is a screenwriter and director. The audio back then is slightly different. You will probably notice it from this intro. For that, I apologize. I was not as experienced back then as I am now towards the end of 2020. Sit back and I hope you enjoy. My guest today is an actor, director, and screenwriter of Bastard and his latest script for Greenlight, starring Chase Williamson and Chris Browning. Patrick, how are you today?
I'm good. I'm nice and comfy and isolated. How are you?
I'm pretty good. I'm not isolated. I'm essential, so I gotta work. We actually share a middle name. I am Patrick Robert as well.
Oh, that's lovely. I'm named after my grandparents, Patricia and Robert.
Oh, that's interesting. So it's a combination of the two. Mine is just named after my father, so pretty boring. So I'd like to really talk about Greenlight. I love the movie. I got lucky enough to get a screener of it, and I actually saw Chase Williamson and John, probably like most of us. John dies at the end. I was a huge fan of that. What was that something? Did you like that film?
Oh yeah, no, I love that film. I've loved Chase in many things, from that to The Guest to, I mean, even his work in stuff at this level like Siren and
Have you seen Arctic?
It's funny. Arctic actually played on the same day as Greenlight on, I think, literally 4 different film festivals, and I was never able to make it.
Oh,
it's been out to rent for a while, and I'm excited to catch that as well. But anything Chase is in, he pours his heart into. I'm a big fan.
Yeah. So just real quick, sorry, we'll bring it back to Greenlight. Arctic, I watched that probably a couple months ago, and holy shit, like, I like Chase. He's a good actor, and I'm not trying to take away from any other role he's played, but this one, he just went up every notch. Like, it was intense. It was an intense movie, and he pulled it off.
Yeah, he has some deep wells to really dig into. I'm really excited to see as his career progresses what he can do when he's on, more comfortable and bigger sets too.
Yeah, and like you said, I think that he's got a lot of I don't know if growing is the right word, but he's definitely, I think he's underappreciated. After I saw John Dies at the end, I was like, who is this? He's acting. I know it's not his first film he ever did, but he's acting with Paul Giamatti and the guy that's running the what's his name? The director wrote Phantasm, whatever it is. I forgot it. Damn, I should have wrote that down. He blew me away. And then I saw
Don Coscarelli.
That's it.
Okay.
And then I saw him on Greenlight, and I gotta say, he nailed that role. How did that feel for you as a screenwriter to get Chase as your main portrayal?
I was fucking stoked. I mean, for this kind of level movie, he's exactly what we needed. Chase really loves John Dies at the end, and I think it is one of his better performances because he was given a lot of tools to work with, like you said, Paul Giamatti and a really fantastic script and source material and director, and that was kind of one of the things we wanted to do for Greenlight is make sure that we surrounded Chase with as many things to help him as possible, and making sure the script was as top notch as it could be, and that every supporting cast member we got had that same level of talent.
So could you walk me through it? Like, how did this whole thing start? Like, what was when you knew, oh, I have a story here? What was that moment like?
Well, so the story genesis is actually from our director Graham Denman. He initially had that first seed, that first idea, and then one of the producers on the film saw my first movie, Bastard, and it was like, I want to try to give this kid a shot, which I'm very grateful for. And I was actually hired onto the film before I'd even met Graham.
No kidding.
yeah, I was hired to write his story before I'd even met him. I think we were at an after party for Tales of Halloween back, what was that, 2015, 2016? Bit ago.
I'm not familiar with Tales of Halloween.
Oh, it's a fantastic anthology film all based around Halloween. It was a lot of fun. I was in an after party at Ripley's Believe It or Not, and I was in a group of people, and I started talking to this guy, and got around to what projects we'd work on, and I said that I had written and co-directed Bastard, and he's like, "Wait, you're the Bastard guy? You're writing my movie." And that's how I met Graham. And then from there on out, it was just a matter of finding a way to make the story both of ours. And certainly, I mean, as someone who worked at a movie theater after I've directed a movie and has, spent 3-4 years hounding Craigslist for PA jobs, this was an idea that I could very, very much relate to. And the entire thrust of Greenlight was to give you a sense of what it feels like to make an indie movie, just with a little bit more murder. The whole idea is everything that Chase goes through emotionally and relationship-wise in this movie would happen whether or not that producer had given him this one bad note. Yeah,
and that producer, Chris Browning, I didn't realize that I have watched him in a few things before, and one of my favorite Denzel Washington movies is The Book of Eli, and I'm like, yes. Wait a minute. Yes.
if you haven't, one of my, yes, yeah, no, he's played a supporting man in a lot of very good movies. I think one of my favorite performances, if you haven't caught it, of his, is a movie called Shot Caller.
Oh, what's that about?
It's a prison movie. It stars what's his name from Game of Thrones? Nikolai Coster.
Oh.
Wadow. I don't know how to pronounce it.
I don't know how to pronounce that either. I know who you're talking about. Jamie Lannister.
Yeah, Jamie Lannister. And he plays kind of a good guy who makes some shitty mistakes and gets sent to prison and slowly becomes a hard ass and druggy. And Chris Browning plays one of the prisoners in there who's very intimidating, and it's a very good performance. But he came on, Graham, our director, worked with him on another set, and honestly never thought he'd be able to get him on this sort of budget movie. And so was just kind of talking to him on the side, like, oh, yeah, no, I'm, beginning production or pre-production on my newest movie. And Chris joked to him, like, all right, so where's my part? And Graham's like, well, there is this producer role. And, he really liked the script, and that seemed to be enough for most people. I think a lot of people just want to work with a good team on something that's not just, shallow fun. As much as I love shallow fun, it helps to get a good cast if you, bring a level of relatability to it.
Oh, absolutely. I thought that the relationship between Chase's character and Chris's character, besides Chase with Paul Giamatti, that was my favorite actor he's ever. I've watched like I don't know 7 or 8 of Chase's films. Him and Chris were. I want to see them in something else, man. Give me a buddy picture.
Me too. Hey, find someone with a budget and we're all go. No, they worked. They bounced off of each other too well. It was mesmerizing to watch.
I watched this film in a dark room by myself, and that's how I like to watch movies like this. And like my wife's not big into horror, and I'm okay with that because I get to watch some horror films by myself and be more into it. Mm-hmm. And I was getting nervous for him. I'm not gonna spoil it, of course, because I want people to watch it. But it didn't end how I thought it would, and not only that, I was just close to having kind of a built-up of anxiety from how it was shot. It was great. I like the effects in the movie within the movie. Mm-hmm. There's this one, just to describe it to people who haven't seen it yet, it's just this one scene where it shows the film in this kind of dreamish world, and it's just the visuals, the background. It's meant to kind of be dreamlike with weird shapes, black and white patterns, and the lighting's all. It's funny tinted, and it was perfect. And there are just different twists and turns in this, and I'm not like you in the sense where I'm an indie filmmaker. I wouldn't quote unquote say that, but I've done a few things in the Massachusetts area for fun. Nothing anyone would know about. I just did YouTube videos and other independent films with older filmmakers, and my experience wasn't like that, but it was pretty much like, all right, guerrilla style. Let's shoot this fucking thing, and it's getting dark. Who gives a shit? Let's try to, you try to cheat as many things as you can, especially when you're renting that equipment. And I could relate to Chase's character.
Yeah.
So I want to move on to Bastard. We can get back to Greenlight too, of course, if you want. But I'm just, because you've mentioned Bastard a few times, could you go over the synopsis for anyone that has not watched that yet?
Oh, for Bastard?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so Bastard is about, let's see, two newlywed serial killers, a runaway brother and sister, and a gay drunk suicidal cop wind up at a bed and breakfast where people are being killed.
So it's a fun slasher is how I describe it.
Yeah. You want to talk about just some mind-numbing fun. We wanted to just... So Powell Robinson, my co-director, who also shot Greenlight, he's an amazing DP. We wanted to hit the ground running coming out of the school, and we shot this in 2015. It was a time when all of our friends were coming out of school as well, and we knew that in a year or two we couldn't afford them. and so we just, were able to throw together some money and run away to Big Bear and just work with some nasty practical effects and make a B slasher movie, man. We had a blast.
That is pretty cool. That's so ever since I can remember, I've always been obsessed with any slasher that, except for this. I was gonna say except for the corny ones, but some of those are good too. When I remember specifically when I was 12, right in that time frame when you're like a teenager, and my parents were like, is it okay to get him R-rated films? And my mom, who also isn't into horror, would just sit and, because it was a time for her and I to bond, she'd watch Freddy movies and Jason Voorhees movies, and I love it. Yeah. What are your early influences?
My mother, Likewise, my mother. We grew up with a Jaws poster over our fireplace, and
Nice.
Jaws, Aliens, Amityville, The Omen, Poltergeist, like all those classic staples. She just inundated me with, and then really kicked off. It was one day I was at my grandparents' house, and my grandmother put down a book, and she said she couldn't continue. And I was like, well, what book is this? Like, why can't you continue? She's like, it's too scary. There's these moving shrubs, and I can't take it anymore. And I was like, well, what is this book? Moving shrubs? It can't be that scary. And she said, you know what, you can have this, read it, let me know what you think. And she handed me a copy of Stephen King's The Shining. And that was third grade. And haven't really looked back since then.
Do you read a lot?
As much as I can, yeah.
So what do you typically enjoy?
I mean, it's still mostly in the horror and thriller subgenre right now. I recently I finished reading whatever Paul Tremblay has out there.
No kidding.
He's just too fucking good. Pal and I we've been working on trying to get an adaptation of one of his shorts out there. Recently finished reading Stephen King's The Outsider, which I loved, and been making my way through the HBO series as I can. Finished recently John Langan's The Fisherman.
Yeah.
You heard that one?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a wild tale, man. Starts as one thing and completely goes the opposite direction.
I haven't read it yet, but I mean, you and I haven't talked about this yet, because when I talk to people that aren't authors, this podcast, it's mainly focusing on getting people familiar with people in the horror industry, but mainly like focusing more on the book industry.
Awesome. That's great.
Yeah. So that's what my review platform does. So that's what I'm doing with my podcast. And yeah, Paul Tremblay, everyone loves that guy. He's super nice. Every time I've talked to him, he's friendly. I'm from Massachusetts originally too.
From your area, yeah.
Yeah, so he moved into a town called Stoughton when he was younger, and that's actually where I spend a lot of my time too, because one of my best friends lives there. And when I discovered him, I'm like, wait, there's someone this fucking big from like right near me.
This small little town, yeah.
And Devil's Rock, like he wrote that about a park that me and my friends used to go to. I'm like, okay. Yeah, and I've always loved horror, so I'm like, there's something happening here that I really like. All right, so I could go on a tangent about Paul and that, but
I think we all could.
Yeah.
Love you, Paul.
Yeah. So I actually would like to jump ahead and focus mainly on you. You live in LA right now, but are you from there originally?
I'm from Southern California. I was born about an hour outside LA. I had never actually been to LA until I came here for school. I went to USC, which is where I met Pal Robinson, my co-director. But yeah, no, I'm a SoCal baby. I've been here. I love to travel, but I love the East Coast. My mom's from Jersey. And I have plenty of friends in New York, but this is kind of where you got to be if you want to get the stuff I want to get done.
Yeah. So when I was in middle school, I remember very little, but the one thing that I do remember growing up, all I wanted to do was be a screenwriter, and specifically a screenwriter of horror, and because my love for it. So that's the very first full, quote unquote, like full story I've written that I remember writing was a slasher screenplay, and I was 13, and that's why I love the fact that I get to talk to you, and I hope to talk to other screenwriters.
Absolutely.
It's an interesting beast to tackle because it's from what I've gathered, it's so much different than writing a novel. So, could you kind of break down the process of how you go about writing a screenplay, just to, I don't know, give some of us an idea that really don't understand it? Because I know it's very different from writing a novel, and I'm very familiar with that world.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say, I mean, the first 5, 6, 50 years of your screenwriting process will be finding your specific process in terms of what works and what doesn't work. And I mean, the goal for screenwriting and, you know, writing a novel or really any job is to find the process that can work on any day. Whether you're good mood, bad mood, uncreative, creative, find a way that works for you to treat this like a job. You know, if you work at McDonald's, it doesn't matter if you're in a bad mood. You got to work at McDonald's. If you're
That's
a screenwriter, if you're a screenwriter and your episode of Rick and Morty is due next week, you got to write. You know. For me, I like to, as much as I can, stay handwritten for as long as possible.
Oh, that's interesting.
It keeps me very uncritical of myself. I'll start off with, you know, just 8 bullet points of what I know I want to see in this movie or what I have in my head, and sort of expand and contract from there. And then once I hit the actual pages portion, I just keep a stack of papers and write by hand for as long as I can. Because I know that if I make a mistake, it's okay. I'm going to have to type it up later. I can correct it then. It provides me forward mobility on the paper. I can use shortcuts, and I can draw arrows going here and here, and I can just put out big X over things without having to copy and paste into another document, and it keeps things really free. It allows me to follow the happy easier. When you're writing by hand, I can skip scenes easier, and you know, if I'm working in these first 10 pages and I hit a block, but I know that there's this really exciting scare sequence or action scene around the halfway mark that I really want to get to, I can just go there. I can just jump over there and write it up, whatever keeps things moving forward.
Yeah, that's a really good way to do that.
Obviously, it doesn't work for everybody, and obviously, you know.
Yeah, of course. So one of my author friends, actually, I was stuck on writing a short story, and he's like, "Why don't you just start with the scene you know that you want to write, like the exciting action-packed scene?" I'm like, I must be a fucking moron, because I always thought I got to write chronologically.
No, not at all. Not at all. There's so many rules and thoughts that, you know, they can be taking things super structured and beady can be super helpful if you've never done this before, or you just need to get something down on the page. But once you're going, there's so many things you can just throw out the window. Writing things chronologically is definitely one of the ones that can go out the window.
Yeah, that was a bad idea. Don't do that if you are a new writer. It's probably never a great idea if you get stuck over and over again, which I did. So going back to your writing process,
because the goal is mostly just to write. Because I mean, one of the things you got to realize is your first. I mean, and in every completed script, every time you press the end is an accomplishment. It's something to celebrate. Yeah. You just have to realize, most likely, your first 5 to 10 are gonna suck. You have to embrace the failure and let yourself just be bad. I mean, it's screenwriting is like any other skill. if you picked up a basketball for the first time, you're not going to expect to make your first 50 shots.
Yeah.
And when it comes to screenwriting, it's the same thing. And I know it feels like, a wasted effort to write a 100-page script that's never going to be seen or read, but it's not. It's practice. And it could very well become the seed for something that's successful later once you have all the tools that you need to be successful.
That's a really good point. Have you ever done that with the only two that we've talked about, I guess, so far, with Greenlight or Bastard? Have you used pieces from previous unused scripts into either one of those?
Bastard is actually, if it to anybody ever feels disjointed at all, it's because the characters in the movie literally came from 3 separate ideas that we had. 4 years before the movie was even made, Pal came to me and was like, "Hey, I want to make this short about these runaway serial killer couple, and they use this hammer to kill people, and I don't have more than that, but I just want to give it to you, and if it becomes something cool." And then 3 years later, I handed them this script that combined this serious drama idea I had, his idea for these characters, and found a way to imagine, like, what if people from 3 different movies accidentally walked on the set of a slasher, and kind of went from there.
I like that. Yeah, you can go to so many different... Like, if you told me that idea and I wrote my story about it and I didn't see your film, we'd still come up with 2 hopefully interesting ideas.
Yeah, and I'd say it's useful for any writer to have just an idea box. Some people have a whiteboard. Some people have a notes document on their phone or computer. Some people have a literal stack of postcards of just like, this is a really cool idea. It doesn't fit here, but I'm going to write it down and I'll set it here. And if I need some inspiration later or something, it's there. Every idea is right for something, but not every idea is right for now.
Yeah, true.
And one of the things I want to do is any idea I love, I want to make sure it finds the right medium. I don't only want to write movies. I'm currently working on multiple comics. I am working on a novel. I do want to move into TV eventually, as well as features, and hell, maybe I'll write a poem or 2. I think some people get in trouble when, they have a large idea and they'll try to fit it into, a screenplay or something else, and they'll fit it, and it won't. When you could just look at it like, oh, you know what? That's actually a comic. Find your medium. Don't force it.
That's real. That's really important.
It should all stem from the idea, not what you want to do. It's a really hard thing to break. I think one of the things about screenwriting that you find pretty quickly is once you get deeper and deeper into the process, you find you have less and less control. Your characters, if you've put the thought and work behind them, will start to guide the story. Their decisions will be made for themselves, and your ideas, if they don't work, will not work.
Right. No, that's very true in writing novels too. Mm-hmm. So I actually was curious, how did you end up meeting Pal Robinson? And I did look at his IMDb because I wasn't familiar with the name until you mentioned him, and holy hell, he's got a pretty long 32 credits for cinema. I can't say that word, cinematographer.
Yeah, no, he's in demand. He's an amazing DP. We were neighbors in our dorm freshman year of college. Yeah, he lived next to me. And, we lived on a Florida school that was specifically designated for people who were interested in film. And so I'm honestly still in contact with, 20, 25 people who lived on that floor. The majority of them, there's an immense amount of talent that came out of that floor, and from our friends. Pal's roommate that year actually co-created a video game called Death's Gambit with actually one of my later roommates, and the score to it was done by Kyle Nedak, who did the score for Bastard.
That's pretty cool.
Death's Gambit's a fantastic side-scrolling platformer. It's like if Dark Souls was done with pixel art. It's
I'm looking at pictures right now.
Yeah. it's gorgeous game.
It looks cool. It kind of
Jean and Alex Kubadera co-created that game, and Jean was Pal's roommate.
Wow. Yeah, some of the pictures, the screenshots, it looks like some kind of game set in a Viking era.
Yeah, it goes to some wild places. It kind of fools you. It starts off in like this kind of typical castle-y fantasy area, and then it gets weird and even into some sci-fi arenas. And I think they're working on an expansion right now. I'm very excited for it.
Do you play a lot of video games?
Yes and no. I use video games to kind of shut off anything quick and easy, Rocket League, Call of Duty. But some of my favorite long-term games. I loved Alien Isolation. Was fantastic. Rime was a beautiful game. I like relaxing games, but I will say I'm very tempted to get the new Doom game, Doom Eternal.
Yeah,
it looks pretty kick-ass, and I think, by no fault of my own, I'm gonna have some extra indoor time over these next couple weeks.
I guess now's the best time to do that if you're planning on just relaxing for a while, because I don't buy new consoles for one very specific reason, and even if I didn't have a family, because I'm trying to pursue my own career with writing,
of course.
I wouldn't be able to write anything. So when I was 3, my parents bought me a Nintendo Entertainment System. I'm 31, so that was in '94. So the Nintendo Entertainment System wasn't super new then, but it was new to me, and I got a 12-inch. I got a 12-inch screen with me just never being able to beat that first level. But ever since then, I've been hooked. I was 3, so I mean, but I currently own an NES, a Nintendo Wii, and an N64, and I don't care what anyone says. And N64, man, that's my jam. That's the best system ever.
I was a little, just a tick later. That I'm my heart's all for the GameCube.
Oh, that's a good one too, though. Okay, so how old are you?
I'm 28. I'm not too far behind you.
No, but it's weird for me to say. I'm only like 5 years. My math's not super great. Yeah, like 5 years older. But yeah, you're still young. I mean, I'm young too, but you're pretty young, and that kind of says a lot too. Just based on like Greenlight alone, like I appreciate that as a writer. I thought, and I said it. I reviewed it a few months ago. And I think it sounds like I might be kissing your ass. I'm not. It's a film that should be I feel like it's a film that should be studied in film school, because it's a film about filmmaking, and it's done well, and you can really feel for the character. So I really appreciate all of it: the editing, the directing, the acting.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I mean, it's one of those things where, I think a lot of people, especially younger people, and especially younger people coming out of film school, want to make this movie. We all want to make movies about making movies, and
yep.
And I make sure to do my due diligence and try to watch what I'm writing. And there's there's not a ton of ones that are done terribly well. I mean, I love movies like the Player and For Your Consideration and a few more. But it was definitely, we wanted to find that balance of reality and true experience, and also not excluding anybody and not getting too inside baseball with it. I'll say certainly, I mean, this thing went through maybe 14 drafts, and the first 2 or 3 drafts of it used way too much set and insider knowledge lingo that could have isolated somebody. But I'm pretty proud of the final product in terms of an accessibility angle.
So how different did it change from those early? Besides what you just mentioned, I mean, like character development wise, how much did it change from those early drafts to what we see on the film?
I'd say about 50-50. About 50% of what was in that first draft is pretty much in this film. Not counting dialogue adjustments and everything. We certainly had a different. The ending is what changed the most. We definitely had a different opening teaser for a long while.
What was that like? I'm sorry to cut you off, but could you just talk about that real quick? Because I like the intro.
Oh yeah, no, it was just finding different. It was originally just a different genre. Like it was a ghost, or like it started off as like a romance, like a teen romance, and then turned into a ghost story, which turned into a vampire story kind of a view. But we wanted to, but that was all inside of a room, and this is a pretty low budget movie. I'm not afraid to say that. It's the kind of movie where I actually catered the film. Very literally. It was the kind of movie where we wanted to make sure that when we had the opportunity that we allowed ourselves a certain amount of scope and open space. And so opening the film on a wide open desert and then letting it get more and more claustrophobic as you went was an opportunity we couldn't pass up.
I like I said, I like it. I thought at first I was like, all right, this is weird, and then because it looked like what you were making it look like, but I didn't know that at first. So I thought it was great.
No, Graham did a fantastic job in leading the audience in the direction we wanted them to be. It's always our goal to kind of thread the line of what we want you to be feeling and not let you get too far ahead of us. And in terms of where the other, how the script changed throughout other drafts, that entire middle section, it's just all about every draft tightening and tightening, making sure that the relationships spark and that the tension is tighter and tighter and makes logical sense.
Right. Yeah. I get that. Totally makes sense. And right there, that alone, again, is relatable because I feel like a lot of people listening to this, I could be wrong, but from the people that have expressed interest in this show so far, they're in the writing novel area. Mm-hmm. So that's why I keep bringing that up. I don't mean to be annoying. No. Yeah, so that's similar to writing a novel or a short story. So I actually was curious, do you keep in touch with anyone else from production, cast, or crew?
Yeah, especially on movies like these smaller movies where you all have to have each other's back and many people are wearing multiple hats. There are many unbreakable bonds made, and if you have a good time, then certainly, you want to do it again. So of course, I still talk to Chase, Pal and Graham, and many members of the crew and cast. We even just on release day for Greenlight, we were over at Caroline Williams' house, to celebrate. She's fantastic.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah. She is a ball of energy, man. I'm so happy that she came on board our little film because she just owned that role.
How did that feel, getting Carolyn?
Again, it's like I said, this is a low budget movie, even lower budget than Bastard, and Bastard didn't have anyone that we could technically call a name. And so for something like this that is so, I don't want to say meta, but kind of meta.
Oh, it definitely is. I was going to actually say that when we first.
It's meta, but it's not. It doesn't get self-referential. We don't have Caroline Williams quoting Chainsaw Massacre.
That would have been funny.
But having someone with her bit of recognizability, that's not a word, in it helps ground the movie and helps sort of put you in our shoes of making it. We were grateful to get someone like this, and Chase's character in the movie is grateful for this opportunity. And Graham's talked about it multiple times. In certain scenes, he would talk to Chase and be like, "Hey, like I'm going to be open with you. I'm a first time director, and there will be moments where I'm freaking out, and there are going to be moments where you're supposed to be freaking out. So feel free to watch me and just take cues and act like I am."
That's actually really that's intuitive right there, man. Like Graham. Yeah. From what I've read online, he sounds like he's a really good director already, and he doesn't come off like a first-time director of a feature. But I guess a film about a guy trying to take on a feature for the first time is the best one for him to take on.
I think everything worked out for the best on that end.
So you catered, you co-wrote it. Is there anything else that you did in this film?
I think in the credits, I'm technically the credited first AD, which I took duties over for maybe 3 or 4 days. But no, I think that rounds it out nicely.
Oh, okay. That's pretty neat. And just one note on Carolyn, she actually sent me an email, which I never expected after I posted my review. And I'm just bringing this up because when I first started. When I joined the horror community in the as far as like authors and whatnot goes, it's surprising how friendly 95% of people are. Big names like Paul, like I said, Paul Tremblay, Brian Keene, Jonathan Mayberry. I haven't talked to John Lagan, but I hope I do someday. And then guys like Christopher Golden, they're all so friendly.
I mean, that's been my experience. I wasn't a part of the horror community until Bastard came out, and we started making rounds at conventions and actually getting to know people and reaching out to all on both sides, both on the acting and directing and producing side, and on your side with the reviewers and critics. And I love this community so much. It's extremely supportive and nice, which. From the outside, maybe your average, 60-year-old Kansas grandma is probably not thinking that the horror nuts are the nice guys. But you know what? We've got a pretty good crew over here.
That makes me super excited. Like, I love hearing that. I love when people just get together and they're like, we're all friendly. We all love doing this crazy shit. So overall, has that's been the case for other big name filmmakers that like the ones we've talked about, actors and such?
Absolutely. And on every level, we just all love what we do so much. And it's been 100% respectful from every level, from the actors auditioning to, running into James Wan and him being fine with you gushing is.
No way. Can you please tell a James Wan story?
Oh, I mean, I don't have a story. I mean, I was working at a movie theater when Conjuring 2 came out.
Okay.
And he was going to showings and like watching crowds, and I was like the only one who recognized him in the lobby, and I like came up with my dustpan and broom, was like, "Can I take a picture with you?" And he was like, "Oh yeah, no, this is great. No, thank you so much." And he's super receptive and lovely, lovely to talk to.
Sorry, man. I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but The
Yeah.
Conjuring and Insidious, like, I'm a fan of those films, and I'm just thinking about it. They're fucking creepy. They're still great. I love them. The Conjuring, I'd say The Conjuring is overall more creepy, but Insidious, those scenes where it's in the other world, holy fuck.
Well, what they pulled off with that fucking budget. I mean, we're low budget, but like I mean, for a movie with Patrick Wilson and these level of scales, $1.5 million fucking blew the roof off. I love. Fun fact: Tiptoe Through the Tulips, which comes in towards the end of Insidious with the red demon face. That's my number one karaoke song right there.
I will keep that in mind in case we're ever in that scenario.
Gets a massive applause every time.
That's I would never expect that, but that's a fun tidbit.
Exactly.
So speaking of low budgets, I'm a huge fan of Rob Zombie and another Mask guy, by the way. I don't know if you knew that. I didn't know that for the longest time, but
Yeah, I don't know what you guys are brewing up there, but something in the water.
But I love, so when I was a kid, because one of my biggest dreams since I was a kid, and now it's just I've moved on to one to be a novelist because I'm pretty sure I'm a shitty screenwriter, so I stopped that. But I had this uncle that he's an indie actor, and he did some movies. He was just like extras, and one of them was Celtic Pride. I don't know if you ever heard of it. It was with Dan Aykroyd, and I am gonna fuck his name up, so I'm just gonna say the tall guy from Home Alone.
Yeah.
So it was just two guys that were obsessed with the Celtics back in the early '90s, and then they kidnapped Damon Wayans' character, and Damon Wayans is on the opposing team, so the Celtics can win in the playoffs. But
make a really fucked up double feature with Uncut Gems.
Oh my god, yes. I love that movie. It's also fucking weird how Adam Sandler pulled that off so well. That ending in particular is like, okay, my brain's been racing for this whole, like, there's this part in the movie when he's just trying to control every little thing, and the camera work, just, they nailed it. I needed to breathe a little bit after that movie ended.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's both that and Good Time are little panic attacks and.
So I bring up my uncle because he gave me some great lessons, and one of them was that you got to listen to the commentary tracks and films. It's free lessons, and watch documentaries, also free lessons. Rob Zombie. So I did that with all the Rob Zombie films that I watched, and one of them, it was 30 Days in Hell for the Devil's Rejects.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yes.
Oh, such a good film.
No, you could get your own little film school by watching and listening to making ofs of like Rob Zombie and Robert Rodriguez.
Oh, I have not heard that yet. Those are two guys that know what they're talking about. But long story short, Zombie was basically saying that on smaller budgets, he likes that. He prefers that. It gives him more room to be creative. So this is my roundabout way of asking you, if you had your choice of any actor and any budget, what would you prefer, a smaller budget or a larger one?
Well, I think it's interesting because you ask me that question now, and like a big budget to me right now would be like, man, I'd have a hell of a lot of fun playing with $1.5 million. But you ask Steven Spielberg what a big budget to him is, and he'd say $200 million.
Oh my god.
But I mean, I'll definitely say I like certain amount of constraints, but $50,000 might be a little too little. Even away from a creative standpoint, I just want to make sure people can get paid properly. And I say this, and I say this as someone whose next movie costs, less than $10,000.
Yeah.
We haven't talked about this yet. So Pal and I, we've gotten a little antsy since Bastard come out. We've had a lot of projects start and stop. Mm-hmm. So last year, Pal, myself, producer, my girlfriend, who's a terrific actress, and another friend, 5 of us total, got in 2 cars and drove around for 12 days with 2 iPhones, some lenses, and a 30-page outline. And we improv'd and shot an entire feature film.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
What'd you say it's called?
That one's called Threshold.
Dude, if I can have the opportunity, please send me a screener.
Absolutely. I mean, we were hoping to, be going out to festivals in the next 2 or so months, but everything's sort of on pause right now.
Yeah.
Considering.
Yeah.
But we're very proud of it. It's insane and entirely character driven. The actors, Madison West and Joey Millen, are amazing in it. We're very excited for people to see it. It goes to some really weird places.
You're just you're checking off all the boxes. I want to watch it right now. What was that? Sorry, we're bouncing all over the place. I'm going to cut this part out real quick. I'm sorry, I never do this, man. I'm very excited right now. Okay, I know I was going to ask you. I'm going to cut all that awkwardness out. Okay. So I was curious. You said your mom's from Jersey.
Franklin.
You're a okay. You're a filmmaker in Los Angeles. Now, there's one filmmaker that is arguably first it was George Lucas when I was a kid, obviously for Star Wars. But then as I grew up to now, my most influential filmmaker is Kevin Smith. So I'm just curious if you are a fan of him at all.
Absolutely. Massive fan of Kevin Smith.
How can't you love him?
Grammar directors. I don't know, man. You want to talk about a guy who's so loving and giving to the community.
Right.
Kevin Smith is one of the most open and giving creators that we have. And I go to Comic-Con every year, and his Hall H panels are, whether or not I can make them, are always a blast to watch.
I never actually watched the current or the latest film he did. Have you seen that?
The Jay and Silent Bob
reboot?
I have not, but it just hit, I think, Amazon Prime. So I'll be queuing that up within the next week for sure.
Oh, thank you. I didn't even realize that.
Yes.
Yeah, I might have to jump on that. So ever since I met my wife and I knew she was from Jersey, I've loved Kevin Smith way before I knew her. I was like, I gotta go to Jay and Silent Bob's Secret Stash, but that's in Red Bank. That's in Red Bank, and that's maybe an hour north of me. But still, I've been here for 5 years. I need a buddy that's into comics to go up there, man, because I have not gotten my ass up there. Have you gone to the one in L.A.?
I have not. I need to. I have my own set of landmarks that I'm slowly checking off. LA certainly has a lot of them. We have the Halloween house out here, the Friday the 13th house. We have the restaurant from Reservoir Dogs, and
oh, nice.
Yeah, so I've got a list. I'm slowly making my way through.
So as you know, the toy store industry is not doing so great. Hasn't for a while, but in my town that I live in right now, there is this one toy store, and it's fairly small. And one day I pass it, and I see this big sheet taped to right next to the entrance, and says, "I assure you we're open." And I'm like, "That's hilarious. What's up with that?" And then I drive by it again. I find all 50 people, all dressed up in different pop culture outfits, and eventually I found out from the owners that they shot a commercial, and the guy that plays Dante, Brian, God, I'm awful with names right now, Brian O'Halloran.
Yes.
He was there. He was friends with someone that was shooting it, and I'll show you the quote unquote commercial. It's not really commercial. That's why I say quote unquote. But I'll show you it after we're done talking. If you want, I'll send you the link.
Yes,
It's pretty funny. Like, they got all the cars from Jurassic Park, Back to the Future, but
that's fantastic.
He's played that role on a film budget that was what, 28,000, 27? Oh, 20. I think it was 27. Yeah. So he's been playing that role since 94, 95, and people still want it. I don't think until the day he dies he's not gonna hear people asking to quote that film. My personal favorite is Clerks 2.
He's okay with that.
Yeah.
Oh, Clerks 2 is so funny. I'm always hesitant to bring it up because it might be my favorite Kevin Smith. Some people, whatever, it's
some
crass.
Sequels. I don't know why.
It's crass and it's beautiful.
Yeah. And I think it's even darker than the first one, and it's fucking hilarious throughout the whole thing.
It is.
My favorite Kevin Smith film is Red State, and I don't know if a whole lot of people know about that, but have you seen that?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
What are your thoughts on that?
I really like Red State. My buddy William Ford Conway, who edited Bastard, and he's an editor on Legacies now. He's my main Kevin Smith guy, and the second that was out, we threw it up on a projector in his dorm room and watched and just lavished in it. It was Kevin Smith's first real turn towards his current direction, and I don't think anybody was expecting it, and it's just completely deranged and probably honestly more relevant now than it was then.
The way it's shot, just everything, the tone, the entire tone. Like, if you say Kevin Smith shot and filmed that and all that, I wouldn't believe you. And not that he's not capable of it. I just haven't seen anything like that. And
if you saw if you did a quadruple feature, you started with Clerks and Jersey Girl, and then capped it off with Red State and Tusk, you would not believe it was the same the same filmmaker.
Do you want to do anything close to that as far as diversity goes?
I want to do everything, man. But the novel I'm writing is, YA fantasy. I have the comic I'm writing is a sports comic. I have scripts I'm writing that are more akin to Jason Reitman than they are Wes Craven, and horror's my first love, and horror and thrillers where I had my opportunity now with 5 movies, and I'll never leave it. But I want to expand everywhere I'm able.
That's awesome. I love that, and I'm not knocking any writer that wants to just stick to one genre.
No, absolutely not.
But. And I know Paul Tremblay is not a horror writer, just a horror writer. He had plenty of books before Head Full of Ghosts, but he's nailing it. He's just coming out with one amazing. The first book I read by him was actually his collection that came out last year.
Was it Growing Things or?
Yeah, it was Growing Things, and I thought it was pretty awesome.
Oh, it's fantastic.
But I really enjoy it when a writer, because I know the old rule used to be, oh no, you're going to confuse the readers if you jump around, but I think that's bullshit. It's
absolute bullshit. I mean, all of our greatest, I don't want to say all of our greatest artists, but no, all of our greatest artists have dipped into everything. Stephen King has Eye of the Dragon and Lacey's Story, and
yeah.
Scorsese made fucking Hugo. It's okay. You're allowed to do something different.
I got I'm a fan of certain fantasy. I'm not too big into all the elves and dragons and stuff because I love Lord of the Rings. That's one of my favorite books. The trilogy, the prequel, Silmarillion, and all the other ones that Tolkien wrote, like, he's the exception to the rule of keeping it to one world because he's just so fucking good at it.
Yeah.
But I also love C.S. Lewis, and I'm a huge fan of the Chronicles of Narnia, and I also have a trilogy he put out about space. So it's a big leap.
Fantastic. I mean, there's examples everywhere. I mean, Wes Craven directed Music and Heart. Like, sometimes you just need to stretch out into something different, and that's all right.
Yeah, and he started out in porn too, I believe.
Who didn't?
Yeah, I'm not judging him. I just think it's funny.
Yeah.
So you said you're writing a novel, you're writing comics. Your goal is to write in television. So what are you furthest along in right now, and how do you figure out what you're going to write each day?
Well, right now, it's, the priority is always, am I on contract for something?
Mm-hmm.
And then the second priority is just, what's speaking to me today. Right now, I am on contract for something. And so I've got 3 films right now that are moving forward, hopefully within the next year, that I am working with the producers and getting into shooting shape.
Nice.
Yep. Cool. And if I didn't have those, I would be working on, honestly, today, probably another horror script. We've got this, I don't want to give too much away. Have you seen Starry Eyes?
No.
Okay. It's another fantastic indie horror film about this actress who gets dragged into some really fucked up situations. It would pair very well with Greenlight. But if you mix that with The Raid, I've been watching a lot of fighting movies lately, and I kind of want to get in on it.
What kind of fighting movies?
Well, I mean, last year I watched as many Shaw Brothers movies as I could get my hands on, but lately I've been watching every single Scott Adkins movie that's available.
Have you heard of Unleashed by Jet Li? His stars.
Of course.
Okay.
Oh, of course. Unleashed is amazing.
As soon as you said fighting movies, I'm not sure everyone would jump to that one. I have a small DVD collection. Back when GameStop still, bought them, I sold a lot of them, but I kept all my Kevin Smith ones, and Unleashed was one of them. I can't believe, more people don't know about it, because I've talked about it with people and people in my circle of friends, and it's not known to them. I mean, maybe it is outside, but that's a good movie. That's the type of story I want to write, because I don't really know where you would categorize it, but it's just so well done.
Mm-hmm. I mean, any film with involves either Jet Li or Luc Besson, it comes pretty close to choreography porn for me. So,
or any film with Morgan Freeman, you're gonna know it's fucking good.
That's true.
So I had one other question on the subject. Do you have a dream story? Do you have a story that you can talk or would like to talk about that is a story you want to write in any form?
Yeah. I mean, I've already written it. And I don't want to give too much away because I want it to be made. But my favorite thing I've ever written is a script that was inspired by Stephen King's The Raft. But mine has a much bigger monster.
Okay.
That's about as much as I can say.
No, that's fine. That's really fine. Man, I really wish I knew. I would have prepped a few more questions about novels, but how long have you been writing for? Because I did not know this, that you wrote novels too.
I've wanted to be a writer since first grade. I wrote I remember the first story I wrote was called The Man Made of Food, and it was a man who was made out of food, and he met a girlfriend who was made out of food. The man made a food, dog ate the girlfriend. That should have been a sign of where I'd go eventually. And I wrote a really shitty novel in middle school, high school, and I wanted to be a novelist and teacher for a long time. And then I saw Tarantino's Reservoir Dogs and kind of saw just how, and Clerks, just how little you needed to make a movie. And I was like, oh, well, I have some friends and I have a camera. Like, there's a real opportunity here for me to see my words alive. Because when I was writing, I would, before that, I would know that I liked what I was writing because I could picture it and visualize it almost like a movie. And so that just slowly evolved to me just wanting to write movies. And then that's ultimately what I ended up going to school for. And as I fed myself more and more creatively, I had more and more ideas, and realized what I talked about earlier, that not all of them should be movies or could be movies. And I found one that I really, really loved as a novel, and I'm slowly working on that.
Congrats on finding that, because not everyone knows what they want to write for like Paul Tremblay again. I've heard him say, and maybe it's changed, and I forget when I heard this interview with him, but I have heard him say that he's not sure what the next story is gonna be, and I think that's pretty insane considering how good his stories are.
I think it's something that we all struggle with, especially. You look at someone on Paul's level where he's bringing in legitimate income through that, or someone on my level who's trying to not have a day job through legitimate income. You have to. It's constantly in your head, like, is what I'm writing going to help my career? Is what I'm writing going to help me monetarily? Is what I'm writing going to help my happiness? And then eventually, the goal is to just get to the point where you trust that what you are happy writing and what you want to write will help all of those other dominoes fall.
Yeah, that's a really good way to look at it. Now, you've mentioned Stephen King a few times. Is he your favorite author?
Yes. He's been my guiding light through all of this, both in terms of being my earliest writings ripped him off profusely, both in style and language, and I couldn't imagine where I'd be if I didn't have the sort of direction he's given in both on writing and diversity of books and character depth. I don't know. It's hard to talk about because it means a profound amount to me.
That's awesome. Wow. Do you have a top three of your favorite books by him?
Yeah. Honestly, my top two are Gunslinger and Wizard and Glass. Gunslinger's the first novel that ever made me cry.
Oh
wow. It means an immense amount to me. Wizard and Glass is the most beautiful novel I've ever read. It's romantic and terrifying and tragic and sort of everything I want out of a novel experience. And then third, honestly, and this isn't one that gets brought up a lot, and I still haven't watched the adaptation. My third favorite is probably Bag of Bones.
Yeah, those are good choices, and that's a thick book.
It is. It is.
My three favorite by him are pretty thick too. It's The Cliche, It, and The Stand. I know those are two super pop, but they're so good. And the third one is a book my dad kept nagging me about, and I'm so glad he did. 11/22/63.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. Is definitely one of his better novels from the last 2 decades.
Yeah, holy shit, that
I
book
even
was great.
enjoyed parts of the adaptation.
I actually never watched that. I never got around to watching it. I do like James Franco. Are you familiar with Jack Ketchum by any chance?
Yeah.
So today I just finished reading my first Ketchum book, and it's The Girl Next Door. Have you
Yep.
Have you read
That's
that?
kind of the first one that people go to. People either go to like that or Off Season or.
Yeah, that's the most fucked up thing I've ever read or seen. I think that Ketchum was a master at his craft. I tore through that book. I'm a slow reader. It took me 10 days to read that whole thing. For me, that's fast. But it's just so fucked up.
I think the last time I read a book that quick was Paul Tremblay's Head Full of Ghosts.
Yeah, that's a huge one in the indie scene especially.
Mm-hmm.
And I know they're trying to make that into a film.
Yeah, it's gone through a couple of different iterations at this point, and a couple of different directors. That's just how movies work, man.
Yeah, I got no clue besides being a fan of them. So besides the books you mentioned already, I was also curious if you read any independent books, indie published books besides the bigger names that we've talked about.
I'll admit not as much as I should. I have less days than I'd like that can be devoted to just writing. I do work a Monday through Friday job, and I like to stay up to date on watching what I can. And so I usually stick a book by my bedside, and that'll be my book for a bit. Old and new. I just finished reading the Foundation trilogy by Isaac Asimov, and then finally read Doctor Sleep. But I'm always looking for recommendations to add because I used to drive a lot more before all of this quarantine went down, and so I can get through an audiobook quicker than I can a real book. Like, I think my most recent audiobooks, read Riley Sager's Final Girls.
Okay.
Which I thought was very solid. I read Adrian McKinty's The Chain, which was stressful as fuck. Have you heard of that one?
I haven't actually heard of that one, no.
Oh, it's so stressful. It got bought for a huge amount in Hollywood. Basically, woman's daughter gets kidnapped. And she's told the only way to get her daughter back is to pay a sum of money and kidnap somebody else's child.
Oh, my God.
And then once you kidnap that child, your daughter comes back to you, and then you have to tell that next parent to kidnap somebody else. So it's just a really stressful chain, and I can't imagine. I'm glad I'm reading it now before I'm a parent, because I can only imagine it'll get worse for other people.
Yeah, so I just became a dad. My son's almost 4 months old, and I don't know if I could read that nowadays. I heard the Serbian film. I've heard what that's about, like snuff videos with kids,
that's the one of like two films I feel like just shouldn't exist, man. Not a fan.
Yeah, so I can stomach a lot, but I don't know. Maybe before I was a dad, maybe in my earlier 20s, but now, I'm not for that. And it's weird because I just said I read The Girl Next Door, and the girl was only 14 in that, and she's still a child. But it was one of those books where I had to read because it's a horror classic, and Ketchum is loved by pretty much everyone I know that's read him. Mm-hmm. So I had to do. I'm not going to read that book again, I don't think, ever. And I don't want to watch the movie, which I know. So
I also just downloaded. I've heard it's very good. I haven't read it yet, but Matt Serafini's Under the Blade, which is a slasher novel that I'm very excited to dig into.
Oh, okay. I haven't read that, but You know, the only slasher in my to be read pile right now is a book that came out last year through Flame Tree Press called Slash by Hunter Shea.
Okay.
It's supposed to be really good. It came out in October, I believe, last year.
Okay.
Everyone liked it. I'd be more happy to give you some recommendations after this if you want. And
Absolutely.
I don't know, Slash just appealed to me. It starts out with the end of a massacre, and it's basically a guess about. And I hope I'm not fucking the synopsis up, but I'm pretty sure it's about the final girl and the killer. So as soon as I heard that, I was like, yeah, I wanna read that.
Well, that was I know this is being made into a movie too. I loved the core concept behind Riley Sager's Final Girls, which is it's about these three different final girls who each experience their own, Friday the 13th situation, and then sort of come together in sort of a therapeutic way until one of them dies, and they don't know why.
You said that's being turned into a film right now?
Yeah. But there was also, I think there was a movie that was similar to it that was pretty solid as well. I can't remember what it's called.
So maybe it's not this one. It's about a slasher. It came out in 2006, and it's shot in two different points of view. The first one is about I guess third person. It would be we're following the slasher and this film crew. Eventually, it leads to the point of view of the film crew's camera, where they're filming a serial killer, and they think it's like some guy just kind of pretty much pretending to be. He brings them to this older couple that teaches him methods of breathing slower to the point where it looks like you're dead, and they practice that by breathing underground.
Are you talking about Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon?
Nailed it.
I love that movie. It's one of my favorite movies.
It's
perfect. I've shown it to so many people.
That movie that's one of the DVDs I have. Like, I got a huge tote of DVDs, and that's one of them. And I don't know. I've watched that like 5 times, I think. I ate up the behind the scenes stuff they had on the DVD. The DVD box itself is awesome. I really appreciate stuff like that when they put a little extra effort into it, like Apple used to do. And this is kind of random. So I know Norman Reedus is huge now after The Walking Dead, but I fell in love with him as an actor when I saw him at a younger age in the first Boondock Saints.
Mm-hmm.
And I bring that up because they came out with, God, I don't know if it was I think 10-year anniversary edition DVD. And it was in this nice steel box. I still have it too. I love it. I love that movie. I liked him in Blade 2. I like Blade 2. It's goofy.
Well, Blade 2 is fantastic.
Yeah, I just know some people aren't a huge fan of it. Oh, you know what? Nope. I'm mixing it up with a third one. Trinity.
Oh, Blade Trinity with Ryan Reynolds and Jessica Biel, right?
And Patton Oswalt.
Yeah.
So Patton Oswalt.
I call that a good FX movie.
That's true. So Patton Oswalt actually talks about Blade, doing it, Wesley Snipes, how he wanted to be referred to as Blade throughout, which is fine, but I guess the way you okay?
Yeah, no, I'm laughing. Sorry.
Okay. I guess the way he did it was kind of weird. Like, he was a little bit too into the character, and I just picture him at home thinking he's Blade, just trying to fight vampires at night.
I hope he's in quarantine right now, just whipping around his sword, just having a blast.
He's a guy I would never, ever, ever want to piss off.
No.
But there's not a shot in hell he's ever going to hear this, I hope. So I'm not looking to fight him. I just think it's funny for if an actor is so into their role. That's kind of like American Horror Story. I don't know if you're into that show, but Kathy Bates.
I watched the first 4.5 years, and then I watched this most recent season.
Did you see Roanoke?
I did not. That was. I didn't hear enough good things to spark my interest.
Yeah, it had some good parts. But
the show kind of has the tendency to go full American Horror Story by the end. Just goes on too many tangents, and it kind of loses me a bit. But the first couple of seasons, I absolutely love.
yeah, so I liked Hotel. I like that one. Did you see Hotel?
Mm-hmm. I did.
My favorite.
Very interesting visually.
Yeah, and to me, I love serial killers like a lot of us crazy Americans do. And my favorite episode was Devil's Night, when all the serial killers are just around the table talking, and you're getting a real good look into like was it Jeffrey Dahmer, John Wayne Gacy, a bunch of the other ones, and that creeps me the fuck out with Jeffrey Dahmer's character.
Mm-hmm.
And I've listened to his interviews, and there's this one with his father, and he's real creepy one minute, and then him and his dad are just like a normal dad and son, and I'm fascinated by that. I'm fascinated by a serial killer that could be, and that's all of them, isn't it? That they could be your best friend or your coworker.
Yeah, there's been a couple really solid movies that have kind of touched on that recently. One of the best ones I saw recently was the Clove Hitch Killer.
What's that about?
It's a Dylan McDermott movie, and it's like you're talking about. I mean, it's a nice white suburban picture perfect family, and then there's some people missing in the area, and the mother and the son go on vacation, and you're just sitting at home with the super nice perfect father. And then he suddenly starts bringing out some rope and some tape and doing some kind of fucked up stuff, puts on a wig, and it gets really dark, and it's very well performed, and I think it's along the lines of what you're talking about.
Sounds like you're describing the BTK killer.
Yeah, so I'm sure part of the inspiration was from that, yes.
Have you seen Mindhunter? It's on Netflix.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
And anything Fincher, I absorb as quick as possible.
Who's your biggest influence, or do you have a few as far as filmmakers go, or screenwriters / directors like Kevin Smith? Because I know there's a lot of them.
I mean, I think like a lot of people in my generation, I was initially completely inspired by the indiness of like people like Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez. And then as I sort of found my own style, I fell really deeply in love with the eerie and unsettling side of things. So like one of my favorite directors is Lynn Ramsey. I think We Need to Talk About Kevin is one of the greatest films of all time. It's completely unsettling and completely real and necessary. Also, Mary Harron. Maybe one of my favorite films is American Psycho, and everything she's done recently has been fantastic as well. Krzysztof Kieslowski and his use of color in the Colors trilogy sticks with me every single time I write. I watch so much, and I inundate my stuff with so much. I think I average a film a day. I am in awe constantly at the amount of talent and artistry out there. And I am 100% a amalgamation and collection of my inspirations, and I like to think that it's not just one director at the forefront of that. I'm inspired equally by the sounds of the kicks in a Chang Chung Shaw Brothers film as I am the pratfalls in a Will Ferrell movie,
Yeah, that's any great artist is like that. You know who who I've recently discovered but kind of knew about beforehand that I fell in love with is the director Bong Joon-ho. I hope I'm
Oh yeah,
pronouncing that right.
yeah.
So my local movie theater, they had Parasite for like 3 or 4 days, and
Good.
my wife and I were busy, but I was like, you know what? I have to watch this in the theaters.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so
Oh, it's
fucking
perfect.
happy. I watched that. Yes. Oh my god! And to not spoil it for anyone that may want to watch it, this one scene at the party. That's all I'm gonna say.
No, he
Holy
has a
shit!
way of turning a narrative on its head super quick. I mean, his movies, Memories of Murder and Mother and The Host, is amazing. He plays with genre, plays and blends genre uh, absolutely perfectly. If you really liked Parasite, I'd recommend a movie that came out a year earlier, Burning,
I'm gonna write that down.
a Korean film starring Steve Ewan, he's on he's in Walking Dead, and Mayhem and uh, so many other things. He played Glenn on The Walking Dead.
Oh, okay.
But Burning's a really just perfect obsession mystery thriller. I think if you liked Parasite, you'll eat this up.
Yeah. So I'm starting to. Not starting. I shouldn't say that. I was gonna say I'm starting to get into foreign films, but that's so not true. I remember when Kung Fu Hustle came out. For that for the longest time was my favorite foreign film. It's just so good. It's so funny.
Oh,
But
it's a blast. That's certainly one. It's super accessible and especially comedies. It's a lot. It's very easy to show that to somebody, and for them to just get it and never be bored.
yeah, yeah. One guy that I work with, we were talking about. They were talking about some foreign film, and one of my coworkers said, "Yeah, I don't really like reading when I watch films." And I said to him, "But you're missing out on so many good movies." And he just flat out said, "I don't care," and that's fine. That's not how
Yeah,
I feel though, because I want to eat up as much as I can, like you.
yeah. I try. I do my best to have a healthy diet of everything. There's especially now with the prevalence and easiness of getting high quality equipment. It's the amount of great content we have coming from around the world is massive. I mean, my favorite film from last year was an amazing Asian film, One Cut for the Dead.
Okay.
Another great movie about man, I want to talk about it, but just watch One Cut for the Dead.
I'm writing that down right now.
Don't turn it off after the first half hour. Get through it. You'll understand. It's perfect. Just trust me there. And then I watched a fascinating Indonesian film the other day called Jallikattu, which I think is on Amazon Prime, and it's just sort of an overwhelming experience. This small town who they all rely on this one bull. They rely on one bull a week for all of their meat and religious practices, and it escapes. And it's just about this one village trying to track it down and getting more and more violent with each other.
Sounds like it gets pretty intense.
Jallikattu.
Jallikattu. How do you even spell that?
Jallikattu.
All right. You know what? It looks like we're actually, I think that unless you have any other things you want to talk about, we're in about an hour and a half. So that's usually where I end the shows, if that's all right. And definitely want to make sure you say everything you want to say. So if there's any other projects you want to talk about, please let me know.
No, just please. If you're stuck at home while you're listening to this, take some time, rent or buy indie horror or indie film. We could really use it right now. And if that so happens to be either Greenlight or Bastard, great.
Yes, let it be Greenlight. Fucking great.
Otherwise, no, just thank you for having me on. And I haven't done very many of these. It's always great to connect with other writers and people in the horror community.
Yeah, it was my pleasure. I was surprised when you replied to me, and I'm happy you did. I think that you just, as an observer, I think that you got a really bright future ahead. Just Greenlight alone, because that's the only film I've seen you do so far. But that was enough for me to say, wow, this dude, Graham, Paul, and anyone else that was the first timer on that. I don't know, man. You guys got a bright future. You really stepped up to the plate on this one.
Thank you. We didn't know what kind of exposure this movie would have. So all the kind words mean the world to us.
Yeah, and again, I think that anyone into horror should watch this. It's not too scary. It's just good character study. Pat, if you could please tell us, where can we follow you?
You can follow me. I'm most active on Twitter at Just Young Enough, or you can just find me through Patrick R. Young.
Okay, cool. That's funny. Mine's PR McDonough, so people better not fucking mix that up. Pat, it's been a pleasure. I really appreciate this, and whenever you come out with something, I would love to talk to you again.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Patrick.
We are in your mind. We are all around. You are now leaving Dead Headspace.